Monster, the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, is his second retelling of the life and crimes of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer in the last 5 years alone, and his third iteration of the story in the last 20 years. In 2017, Ross Lynch played the leading role in My Friend Dahmer. In 2002, Jeremy Renner played him on the big screen. Monster tells the story of Dahmer in his Netflix exclusive series produced by Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan, starring Evan Peters. One of Netflix's biggest success stories, the show follows Dahmer's pursuit of a total of 17 youths he murdered to his eventual arrest and prosecution. From crime documentaries to comedies like Only Murders in the Building that warp the culture's obsession with true crime, they come at a time when the demand for true crime media has never been higher. Monster has become one of the most watched series since its debut on September 23rd, and criticism of the show has grown as fast as its popularity. Much of the discussion centers on how systemic racism allowed Dahmer to continue killing. Some of Dahmer's victims' families have objected to the series, saying it hurt them again. The series was also criticized after Netflix labeled it as LGBTQ content. Netflix quickly removed the label when the drama surrounding the choice erupted on TikTok. Anger is not a new phenomenon on the internet, but the launch of Murphy's new limited series means the show has become one of the most controversial series released in recent years. Here's what you should know. How The Monster was received. Critics gave the show mixed reviews. Variety and Vanity Fair were more negative in their reviews, while Vulture gave a more positive review along with The Hollywood Reporter. Overall, the show currently holds a 45 out of 100 rating on Metacritic. Reviews aside, it quickly became popular. According to Netflix's weekly Top 10 report, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, topped the UK TV charts for 2 weeks with nearly 300 million hours watched. In its first week, it ranked among the top 10 streams in 92 countries. This is second only to Stranger Things 4 in terms of weekly ratings for an English-language series. Reactions of victims' families. The show drew criticism immediately after its release. The most prominent of its criticisms rested on Errol Lindsay, one of the victims of Dahmer. Rita Isbell is Lindsay's sister, and she made an emotional statement about the victim's impact on the 1992 murderer's sentencing. She wrote her personal essay for Insider detailing watching part of the show and being harassed. Isbell's statement was reenacted for dramatic effect on the show and was played by actor Deshaun Barnes. She wrote, "I've not been contacted about the show. I feel like Netflix should have asked if we cared about it or how it felt. You didn't ask me anything. They just did it, but I'm not money hungry. That's what the show is about, and Netflix is about to get paid." Her cousin, Eric Perry, took to Twitter to speak out against the show in a viral tweet. "I'm not telling anyone what to watch. I know true crime media is huge, but if you're really interested in victims, my family, the Isbell family, would love to see this. I'm mad at the show. Traumatized over and over again, and for what? How many movies, shows, documentaries do you need?" Debate will continue as to when and how to tell the tragic story. But Isbell's words are a reminder that these stories are more than TV shows. Real people are affected by projects like this. "It brought back all the emotions I felt then," she said. Criticism over Netflix LGBTQ representation category. Controversy also grew over the ways Netflix labeled the show on its page. Monster was labeled horror, ominous, dark, vintage crime, psychological, and LGBTQ. More light-hearted shows like Heartstopper, Sex Education, and AJ and the Queen are the types of series that usually get filed under the LGBTQ tag. So it came as a shock to many Netflix users to see a show that highlights the brutal murders of queer men being touted as an LGBTQ show. Why the F did Netflix tag the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary LGBTQ? One person asked in a viral TikTok video. I know it's technically true, but this is not the representation we're looking for. If I need to stay in my lane, absolutely tell me, but anyone else think it's pretty gross of at Netflix to list Dahmer under a hashtag LGBTQ? Especially when the true crime tag would have worked? Writer Francis Danger tweeted. Another person tweeted, "Hey, hi at Netflix, I implore you please reconsider having Dahmer with the LGBTQ tag, especially as one of its tags right when you open the app." The tag was later removed with no official comment from Netflix. It's unclear exactly when the streamer removed the tag. Netflix's Jeffrey Dahmer miniseries is already pretty gruesome and horrific, but there were things the series didn't show you. Glenda Cleveland didn't live next door. The crusading Glenda Cleveland, portrayed in the series by Niecy Nash, is seen in Murphy's series as a dogged citizen trying to get cops to pay attention to Dahmer's behaviors, having heard all manner of horrors through the connected vents between their apartments. In reality, Cleveland didn't live next to Dahmer in the same building, but in a building down the road. The character of Cleveland in the series is a composite of the real-life counterpart and Dahmer's actual next-door neighbor, Pamela Bass. Bass told a 2012 documentary, The Jeffrey Dahmer Files, that she heard screams in the night, as well as the sounds of bones breaking, and she could smell rotting flesh. Tony Hughes. Monster spends most of episode 6 delving into the relationship between the murderer and Tony Hughes, a 31-year-old deaf man whom he met at a Milwaukee gay bar in 1991. In the show, after their first night together, Dahmer bludgeons him to death with a hammer and assaults his corpse. In real life, a friend of Hughes says Dahmer had been in Hughes' life as early as 1989, 2 years before his disappearance. Dahmer claimed he had never met Hughes before the fatal night, but Hughes' friends said Dahmer had sought out the would-be victim several times in the years leading up to the killing. His childhood. While the show touched on some details of his childhood injuries, such as his hernia, it left out more informative facts. When he was a newborn, Dahmer's legs were in casts for the first months, and he wore lifts in his shoes until he was 6. As a kid, he coped with the double whammy of his mother's mental illness and his family's nomadic life, moving 3 times in 2 years. The series painted a picture of how Dahmer learned taxidermy to preserve his victims, but he also learned how to bleach his victims' bones to preserve them from his dad. His father was a chemist, and he showed young Dahmer the technique with chicken bones, believing his son was showing an interest in science. As a young teen, Dahmer showed traits that are often linked to sociopathic behaviors, including nailing a dog's carcass to a tree at 13. While the show touched on some details of his childhood injuries, it left out more informative facts. What they found in his house. The series uses news footage of human remains being removed from Dahmer's house, but it didn't go into details on what exactly they found. An outside company was contracted for the gruesome work, and some of the staff involved were barely adults. Police found inside the building an altar to honor himself. Upon the altar were 2 skeletons and 7 of his victims' skulls. He had a further 4 heads in the refrigerator when he was caught. He had originally intended for his altar to have 12 skulls in total. If you enjoyed the video, like and share with your friends. Also subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on other juicy stories.